Hey guys, welcome to the 49th episode of the Learning Podcast. And if you aren't sure, it's a Singaporean podcast dedicated to learning something new from every single guest on this show. And today I have a very long time friend I knew about 8 years right now, and his name is Anson. Anson, thanks so much for coming, man.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
So I'm really happy for us to have this conversation because
Yes.
I've learned so much from Anson since being like a fresh JC kid, right? So
You were JC?
Yeah, I first met you in the music competition. So we actually took
Oh,
part.
right.
We took part in the music competition in 2015.
14.
14.
Yeah.
And because I was a fresh JC kid, right? And Anson is slightly older than me, so I've learned a lot about life in general.
Wow.
The way that he's so expressive in his work, in his emotion, in his music as well. So Anson here, he's a musician. He plays the Yangqin. He's a ridiculously, crazily talented person. If you haven't watched his playing, I'll just link all the concertos that he has played with many orchestras all over the world, in Singapore at least. So if you're unsure what a Yangqin is,
Okay, wow. First question so fast already. Okay, so Yangqin, right, basically is like a dulcimer, hammered dulcimer. And fun fact, it's actually not Chinese origin.
Middle East?
Yes, Middle Eastern. Yeah, it's from Santur, so it's debatable. But long story short, it was brought into China, and it's this like trapezoid-shaped instrument with the Yangqin has 144 strings and has 4 bridges. And the way you play is you play with a pair of mallets. Yeah, that's basically Yangqin.
Got it. So I'll link all the concerts below. And there was a part of my life where I was like a crazy musician as well. So I took part in the music competition. We had a lot of rehearsals together. We grinded like crazy. For, I think, one main competition, right?
Yes.
And a few concerts as well.
Concerts, performances, competition.
One thing I really respect about Anson is that he's very creative. He's very expressive. So when it comes to being a person, right? Because sometimes I feel like I'm a very robotic person. I was telling him right there. I feel like in terms of learning how to express your emotion is something that I really want to learn from you as well. So a little more context about Anson. He isn't from Singapore. He came from Sabah. Sandakan.
Yes,
so
that's right.
I think like a couple of reasons why perhaps you should listen to this podcast is just have the perspective of someone coming from outside Singapore, and just making a career in Singapore. Because I think there's a lot to say for people that are leaving their hometowns to come all the way here from a very far away place. So I think there are life principles and values that I really want to share with others as well. And Anson himself is a very bubbly character, and I feel very energized when I meet people like him. So it has been a while since I actually met you, but
That's right.
I think this podcast also serves as a very selfish purpose to just like meet up and just talk in general.
Yeah, I'm glad.
A couple of other reasons why I think this podcast will be useful. If you are intending to, let's say, pursue your passion in your career, I think Anson is definitely a prime example of that. He has chosen a career in the arts. He's a musician, so he currently works at Eason. Eason is currently a music distributor, and it's also a place where
We have music lessons also. Yeah, but we primarily deal with Chinese instrument. Yeah, so it's really closely related to my instrument and your instrument as well.
Got it. So, in general, I really believe that everyone should be a creator. So whether if you're creating videos, making music, writing art, writing blogs, baking cakes, skateboarding, whatever, rock climbing, right? I think that there's always a healthy way to manifest your interest. And I think that this conversation in some way hopefully inspires people to just create stuff, whether it's creating TikTok, like what we're talking about here, right? Or just doing stuff outside, let's say, your main job. And it doesn't really necessarily have to translate into your career or whatsoever, but just use this life as experiment ground to just try random things. So, sorry for the long context, right? Going all the way back, Anson, maybe could you share with listeners, right? I'm always very interested in the starting beginnings of someone, right?
Okay.
At what point did you decided that you wanted to come to Singapore?
Well, I think it's very common for I'm Malaysian, so when we finish secondary school and we finish something equivalent to O-level, usually we decide whether we want to study university or tertiary studies abroad or locally. What made me choose Singapore is because one, is near home, it's near Malaysia, and second of all, what really drew me here was because there's a very vibrant Chinese orchestra scene here. Yeah, so that what drew me here. I was deciding between Singapore and Australia actually.
Australia?
Yeah.
Australia?
Because okay, not to brag, but at my batch of classmates, we were the ones that speak English like somewhat better than the rest. So we were thinking, okay, if Australia, right, at least there won't be any like language barrier or there won't be any learning difficulties. Yeah, but in the end, I still settled for Singapore. Yeah, and I studied poly actually. Yeah, so
So before you even came to poly, so you after high school, is it?
yeah, so I studied in this thing called Chinese Independent School back in Malaysia. So it's a 6 year program, 6 years. So after I finished the 6 year, then yeah, I decided to just study overseas.
I mean, could you share more about that? Like maybe it's a conversation with your parents of wanting to go overseas. Do you have any siblings that also
Yeah, my
wanted to
sister,
go
my older sister actually studied in Singapore first.
already? So it was like going in her
before,
footsteps.
yeah, that's right, that's right. So it's like thinking, well, since my sister is here, and I don't think my parents would object. I mean, my father sort of wanted me to just get out of the country, see the world, sort of mindset. So they're quite encouraging of me to not study in Malaysia. Yeah.
When it comes to the finances, right? I think like it's not. That is definitely not cheap to come over. So I'm just
definitely not
So I'm
cheap.
wondering from that side, because I have some friends that came over, who took loans, or like was it for like PSC, the parent scholarship? Is it so like what was the finances behind you? If there's anyone who is interested to take that jump.
Well, my dad actually made the bold decision of not taking any loans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so because earlier on he didn't want me to like get tied down with any like things like we have to pay back or something like that. So when we first made the decision to study here, he already said no loans. We're just gonna pay everything upfront. Yeah, and I'm not like the brightest student, so like no scholarship or anything also. Yeah, so it's really the price is definitely way higher than like local students studying poly or even university here. If you ask me the exact figure, I already forgot.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't remember already.
I mean, because right now I'm in the midst of paying back my student loans.
Yeah, so
like,
sometimes I look at my peers and it's like, oh, you guys still have a loan to pay. But at the same time, I also understand that it is a huge burden for my family, my parents, and I'm eternally grateful that they took the leap of faith with me.
when it comes to your time at Singapore Poly, right? I mean, could you because I know there's a part of you that, let's say, was involved in the music scene heavily in polytechnic, but at the same time, because I believe you weren't studying something that was like professionally music related in poly, right? I mean, could you share more about that, like in terms of, let's say, the transitions between thinking about being a professional musician, like doing this all the way? Like, was it a decision that you thought of back in poly, or like you were just like floating around? Because I think like for me, like university, like people who are older already, people are just floating around in general. But what was your thought process back then?
Okay,
in
so
poly?
before I applied for poly, I did quite well with my maths and physics. So that's why I applied for an engineering course in polytechnic. It's just as a lot of my classmates is either engineering, lawyer,
Doctor,
those sort of professions, you know, like
conventional.
Yeah, because conventional, yes, and it sort of looked good. Yeah, so I actually coming to Singapore, I definitely knew that I wanted to join like Chinese Orchestra, but I did not expect it to get like become something like
the
this.
main course, is it?
I didn't expect it to define my life.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was really lucky to be in a orchestra when I was given a lot of opportunity to just play a lot. I mean, before I even came to Singapore, I wasn't even a Yangqin player.
What? I didn't know this.
I started out playing percussion in my secondary school.
So you only started learning the instrument when you were in Singapore Polytechnic?
I mean, I dabbled in a bit of it. I self-taught a bit. But when I came to Singapore, then I officially become a Yangqin player in the orchestra.
Shit. Okay,
yeah, so over the years, like I performed for the orchestra, then I was given a chance to solo concerto, 2 concertos in poly. Then it sort of really catapulted me to be even like dive deeper into playing Yangqin, and that's where I met my teacher,
Backtrack a bit, because you're playing concertos in poly already. Right?
Yeah.
Because to pick up an instrument to the point where you could do a concerto, right? Did you really have a formal teacher, like one-on-one teacher?
No, my first concerto, I did not have any teacher.
Wait, what? Okay, what do you mean don't have a teacher? Like, so
I
you
never,
weren't formal, like.
I didn't learn from a teacher.
Then who did you learn from? Your seniors?
My senior just, give me a push start and say, oh, these are where the notes are, like that. Have fun.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. So of course, in the beginning, right, I'm definitely gonna get criticisms. Not criticism, like I have a senior who studied professionally Yangqin. Then he would give me like, advice saying like, do like really get a teacher to like
Holding
learn
on
it
the
properly.
fundamentals and
Yeah,
basics.
that's right. So those are the good things that I hear. There are the bad things that I hear, like, oh, if you really want to do this, like, you better get a teacher. Like, don't live in your fantasy world thinking like, oh,
You're the
you
best, is it, or something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean, I don't think that, but
Oh.
whatever you do, people's just gonna talk behind your back, tear your back. Yeah, so that's why I say I was really lucky, and that I was given the chance. Like the conductor there really trusted me and really given it a shot. And it's just since I think my first concerto was in 2011. Yeah, it's ever since that concert.
Did you have a video recording of it?
Sadly, no.
Oh man.
No, but the second one I had an audio recording, but not a video recording. Then the subsequent ones are more made for YouTube.
For context, right? A concerto simply means, right, you're the soloist. That means you're the person standing in front of the orchestra, right?
Yeah.
Just for listeners out there. I mean,
I still can't believe it, because I always thought that to be able to play a concerto, you must be, like a professional or something like that. So I'm still grateful, and I'm just
I'm sure
lucky.
there are the kind of lessons, some lessons in there, like on a typical school day, a typical school week, right? What's the commitment like? Because in my head, right, yeah, like you need to practice so much, and we are talking about at least 5 to 6 hours a day. I'm not sure, but and yet you still have school, so like gearing that to that first concerto. I think the first concerto for every musician out there, right? Even my first concerto, I vividly remember. Right? Yeah, it's unforgettable. It's like a milestone. It's like a milestone that you reach, right? I mean, could you share that journey there? Because it's very easy to say that you have done a concerto, but I think there's a lot more nuances and challenges or mind games that you're playing yourself that you might be able to share with others.
It's definitely hard work. You have, you're an instrumentalist and you play instruments yourself, and you have to practice non-stop. I remember, because poly, right, the classes are not so long and it's more spread out. So whenever I have free time, I'll be in, and I don't have a Yangqin at home.
Oh,
so I put Yangqin in the club room back in SP. So every time, whenever there's free time, I'll just head over to the club room and practice. So I don't really hang out a lot with my classmate. I feel bad. But my classmate understands also. And they'll just let me go. Like, they won't say like, hey, why you never hang out with me or something like that. Yeah, and because our club room, right, is like a lot of glass panels, so you can look in. So most of the time, you definitely see me practicing my ass off.
I mean, I empathize, but like, as what were your other friends doing? Because I feel like there's like that peer of your life, right? You should do crazy things. I'm sure
that's
you
right.
have done your fair share of crazy things as well.
No, I think I'm okay, leh.
No, okay, I know you're okay, but didn't you feel like it's weird that you are so insanely passionate in something while your other friends? I mean, what do you even know what your other friends were committed to? Like, what do they usually?
Because they are crazy about at that age, gaming, basketball. So every time when they all go play basketball, right, I'll be the one out to go practice, for example. But they know. I feel like I'm very lucky because I'm really surrounded by people who understand. So, and it's because I spend so much time in the club room. Naturally, I'll make more friends with my orchestra mates. Yeah, and they're just always around. And every time we finish practicing, I do have a social life. Yeah, because the school closes at 10:30, so I cannot stay beyond that. Yeah, so I know that I spend a lot of time practicing, like an insane amount of time practicing. But I also don't think that I neglected my social life or my friendship, because I just so happen to be surrounded by a group of people who are also crazily passionate about playing that instrument in an orchestra as well. Yeah.
Then I think I had a conversation with a friend that tells me like some musicians, right, they spend so much time alone practicing, right?
Yeah.
But for you it's different because you are in a community. But
yeah,
what do you say to those people like to say that like if you are like a skilled musician, you don't know how to socialize? You are totally the opposite of that, right?
No. Okay. Now that you mentioned, I do have friends who ask me out sometimes, but I have to turn them down, saying like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm preparing for like competition, I'm preparing for concert, concerto, I can't hang out with you, but once this is over, please hang out. Yeah, so we schedule our meetups, saying like, okay, this time to this time I have to practice. But you also have to let yourself know that you cannot keep on practicing. You have to have your downtime. You need to take a break. You need to go out and just breathe. And I think keep on practicing, right? It doesn't help with your music also, because you really have to experience life. You really have to make friends. You have to get in and get out of relationships, or even make friends, lose friends, because all of this is an essence of life. and you can really bring life into, like, breathe life into the music. Yeah, so practicing, I mean, it is a must to practice. I mean, for me, I firmly believe, right, great musicians out there. Okay, I cannot.
No,
say
okay, trust me. For my words, Anson is a great musician.
instrumentalist, because I
Musician.
don't. Okay, so I think, right, talent really makes a portion of it, and I'm sure you agree. But discipline makes a bigger chunk of it, right? Yeah. So you discipline yourself to practice, but I think we might neglect living a life also. Yeah, because having this life incorporates into your music also. That's why sometimes music, like how you say, art evolution, like that, right? Yeah, like as a musician grow older, the way they express their music is different also. Like I'm pretty sure the juvenile years of me playing Yangqin versus me, my current like knowledge or current experience and maturity playing music, right? If we're playing the same music, right, it's going to have different expression, right? I'm pretty sure it applies to a lot of things also. Your art, your music, your composition, your essays, your writing, everything. Yeah, you have to experience life in order to make things more lively.
And you can actually tell through the music that you play, right?
One thing is because as you improve, you get to you're exposed to even more difficult pieces. Yeah, so I think it's like concurrently while you're growing yourself internally, you're also exposed to even more things. That's why you get to like express even more things in your music, in your playing style. So
I rarely have this kind of conversation when I ask musicians like how
Okay.
they practice. Like because you can say I've met musicians say, okay, I mean it's a very simple thing. You like,
Yeah.
I practice 8 hours a day. It becomes like an accomplishment, like 10
Yeah,
hours a day, 11 hours a day. How do you practice?
okay, so
Yeah, how is there a system? Because I can tell you from my personal experience.
how do
right?
you practice?
I felt like I wasn't groomed, at least in like some instruments that I've learned.
Okay.
I wasn't given a proper framework to follow. Like
Okay.
certain things to like fundamentals that you must look out for. Rhythm pitching is one. So
Oh, yeah, because
like,
your
so there are certain
instrument-
there are certain tools in your tool belt you can use to solve those issues, right? Then you do it in a very systematic manner. So
Yeah.
I was the kind of musician where I was using brute force. Like you just
Oh, that
brute
just
force,
compre-
and it's a very vague. Like some
Yeah.
teachers that you go to, they say play by feeling. So I'm not, so okay. So how do you practice? Like, what's your framework if you have? Or like
Okay, so because now I'm working,
Yeah.
so my practices are very constrained to maximum 2.5 hour. Because once I get home, right, then like 7:30 or 8, sometimes I have to grab home just to make time to practice it. Yeah, so and then my maximum time I have to stop is like 11 because I don't want to, disturb my neighbors. Yeah, oh yeah, I have a Yangqin at home now. So I practice at home instead of at work where I'm surrounded by instruments. So anyway, what I always do is on the way home, I'm already picturing myself practicing. Like
Wow, visualizing
yeah,
already.
you have to visualize, and you also have to identify where your problems are. And then because your time is really limited, my time is limited. So whenever I get home, I'll have a quick meal. I'll just dive right into it to directly catch that excerpt of that passage that I'm having trouble with. Put a metronome there. I even time myself within this half an hour. Just practice this phrase. Yeah, once half an hour done, see my progress. If it's satisfactory, then good lah. If not, right, I'll still have to force myself to move on because the pieces now we play is like 9 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, all these solo pieces, right? So I don't have like the time in the world to do this. So my framework is just to prepare myself on what I need to practice, one. And then when you get into it, time yourself. Don't let it overshot because time is limited. Yeah, and always record yourself and listen to where the problems are. Like just now, before meeting you, I was listening to a recording of mine from yesterday, and I was identifying my problems. And I was like, oh, I did not know I sounded like that. Yeah, and so just look forward to the next day to practice the parts that had problem. Lor.
How have you taken such framework into your own life? Because sometimes I feel that it's always like things that you can learn from music, you can learn in like, other aspects of your life, right? Is there any relevance in you being a musician into how you have taken such frameworks and lessons just in the arts into your own life?
I think it's more about disciplining yourself. It's like you want to go on a diet and then you discipline yourself not to eat this thing, not to eat this thing. But I mean, the mindset sort of came to me because it goes back to how I'm not local here, and then I have to live my life in a certain way or in a certain framework, as we put it. Yeah. So it's sort of like, for example, financially, yeah, you have to save money or like, so that sort of mindset already is like embedded in me. Like, oh, I have to make sure I do this, so that I can get the result I want, something like that. So it's more on like a mindset, and also know at the end what's your goal. Yeah, like saying, oh, I'm competing, I want to get this sort of result, or I'm gonna have a concerto in December, and how many time I have left. Like, you have to have a sense of urgency, I guess. I think my life is like always driven by sense of urgency. It's like, oh no, deadline, all those things. Yeah. So it sort of comes naturally to me in a sense, because I am driven by results, and I'm sort of like a perfectionist myself. So I cannot accept like sloppy results. So that's how I discipline myself.
Okay, that's something I envy.
I mean, maybe if it's something that you're passionate about, like doing podcasts like this, you want certain things to look how it looks, right? Like the camera angle must be like this, the lighting must be like that. Yeah, it's sort of these little things or there's like, because you're passionate. Because you're passionate about it. For me, I'm really passionate about playing Yangqin. Not because I love expressing myself, but it's because how I met so many people through Yangqin. I made so many connections in Yangqin. And Yangqin, people, when they see me or they know me as that Yangqin guy. Oh, that person that plays Yangqin. Yeah. So it's like part of my life. Yeah. And I'm living my life.
One thing that you, we were talking on the car, right? We were actually on the car after this, right? That you said you were very happy that you're doing something that you're passionate about at the same time, right? Because I have some friends that tell me that you shouldn't, let's say, pursue your passion in that sense.
Yeah, because like you lose passion of it. Because once you start earning money using your passion, right, it gets mundane, it gets boring. Is it something along that line? Yeah. I mean, I even hear it from professional musicians as well. Yeah, so I am happy in a sense that I am able to do things that's new to me. Like all this, I mean, part of my work is we also film. We do live.
For context, can you share business? What do you do professionally at Eason?
Okay, so Eason, like
aside from being like a musician, right?
I mean, I teach there. So okay, Eason Music is a local shop, store that sells Chinese music instrument, and we like do music lessons. We sell instrument, of course, primarily that's our business. We also do live performances. So just are the few things. So now we're diving into. I mean, my role there is basically a content creator myself. So I have to from one content creator to another. Yeah. So because we have a web store. So my main job there is like, make sure the store is updated with our latest products. So I have to take pictures, I have to edit it, I have to put our stamp, all those things. That's just one. And we do tutorial videos also, like how to take care of an instrument, how to maintain an instrument.
For all kinds of instruments, is it?
We try to. Yeah. So I mean, 古筝 is popular.
I mean, can I ask this initiation of being a content creator and putting out content on the web, right? Because from my understanding, Eason is actually quite a traditional company. So was it something that you initiated? You told the boss that it is something that I should do, or did they come to you and say that? Was it something from them? Because from what I understand, they are very traditional people. So how did the idea of putting out content come into mind for such a traditional company?
Yeah, it's actually the latter.
Latter?
Yeah, so you say traditional, right? Because the boss is a family business. So the son, who's like, of course, the younger generation, right? Which I really think is such a smart move to do, to really put Eason online to an online platform. Yeah. So actually, before I went in, they already had some contents going on. They had like very simple videos on like tutorials or like maintenance videos and stuff like that. So I got in just to further enhance it.
But it was explicitly told to you before you even entered that this will be a main job of building the online presence of the company. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm very impressed by my manager to take this initiative to connect the Western world to Chinese music, and which makes me. I think that is why I'm so passionate about my job, because I'm spreading this art form,
the gospel.
Preach. Yeah, so I'm putting all this content out and what brings joy to me is that there are people watching. And there are people who's really interested in it. And I'm not sure if I can share. So recently, there's this person from my hometown that saw our content and then was talking to us. Yeah, he spoke in Malay.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was the only person there that can converse in Malay. And I found out, oh my God, this person is from my hometown. And he's watching our content and he said he wants to learn Chinese.
Isn't it mind-blowing?
It is. Actually, on my first day at work, I received an order of a guzheng to be shipped to my hometown also. And it's like, wait a minute. Wow, the reach is so far already. I mean, I consider my town a bit small. Yeah, so it's not just that we get customers or viewers from like Europe, America, Australia, Japan. Yeah, so it makes me want to learn another language so I can connect to like the Japanese audience even closer. That I'm just so excited about the idea of connecting people to this Chinese music and this art form.
I mean, I empathize as well. Like sometimes I receive messages like you're mind blown by the kind of impact.
Yeah,
that
like
your work is
thank
doing.
you for watching. Yeah.
I mean, at the beginning, like, I mean, I'm sure that there were some challenges, or initially, like, Eason already had a base of audience, because sometimes I feel all these like new content creators that at least ask for my mini experience of putting out content online, right?
Yeah.
They feel a little bit discouraged at the start, whereby you don't have any people to engage with your content because literally no one is watching. So, when you joined, right, what was that stage of audience or viewers were there?
Dude, it's quite steady. Like they have like a certain number of viewership already. So I mean, I didn't get to experience that aspect, but I do run a small YouTube channel of my own and putting videos of playing Yangqin and stuff like that. So I do understand how that feels also at the beginning. It's like, why do I put it up? It's not like anyone's going to watch, what? But you just got to keep on building it, keep on putting contents out there, because if you realize, right, not many people doing this also, what? And if no one going to do it, who's going to do it? Might as well be us doing it.
What are the biggest lessons that you have learned in being like a mini content creator for this side business and your YouTube channel, which I'll link in the video description? What are the biggest challenges have you learned as, I'll just say, like being a content creator?
I think it's important to be yourself.
Be yourself.
As in, don't compare yourself too much to other people who are very popular, saying, why does it work for them? And why doesn't it work for me? I mean, of course, it's good to learn a bit, but don't try to mimic so much, right, that you lose your core value of your own value. I also realized, right, that like there are people, right, who doesn't really have any concrete contents or talents. Like they just put there to show face only, and then there are more viewerships than people who put actual decent content. Okay, that's a good example. Like saying like those viral videos, like tutorial videos versus, or like tutorial baking hacks video versus people who legitimately do baking videos, like do it properly and stuff like that, or they even review those videos of those baking hacks and saying, oh, it doesn't work, but somehow they will still get more views instead of them lah. So it really makes you think like, if I do what I'm doing right and I'm not getting any views, do I still want to do it? Yeah, so there are points, I mean challenges, or you feel that you feel discouraged. But I think as long as you believe in yourself and also learn how to
play the game.
Play the game, how to market yourself, how to distribute your contents, how to let people know, hey, I'm doing this, come check out my video and stuff, without being obnoxious and pretentious to a point where it's not even you anymore.
No, okay, you talk about like being authentic and being yourself, right? Sometimes like I face a challenge like even when I was just doing this early on, right? I don't even know who I am, to be honest. And I'm just like on the way of finding lah. I mean,
you can find yourself through this also. I mean, I didn't know I was gonna be like so into Yangqin.
You're freaking into Yangqin, man.
Yeah, so it's like it's a growing process, what? Yeah. So after playing, like, then I realized, oh, this is really me. Yeah. So I mean, if you're doing podcasts and you don't know, if you're still searching yourself, right, maybe you can get your answers here, or even get your answers from like people you talk to during your podcast. Who knows? Life is a mystery.
Yes, and that's what I hope to do. Okay, going back, right, because after poly, I'm just interested. We haven't discussed the switch.
Oh, right. That's right.
From doing
so
a marketing degree in SIM.
Yes.
Marketing degree in SIM
yes.
to doing this full time. So
it's also a lot of like bumps and knocking around. Like when I finished poly, I was at a point where I'm really into Yangqin already. And I even spoke to my parents about my father. I spoke to him like, hey, along the line of, can I do this professionally? Yeah, then that's
Okay, what do you mean along the lines? I'm sure it's
I mean, okay, straightforward. Yeah, so it's saying like I want to do music.
Also, you already had the intention that
Yeah,
you
I did like fit the idea like, oh, study NAFA or even go China conservatory, all those things. But my father actually pushed back a lot. He did not want me to do this professionally. Yeah, they think like, oh, arts is like not something that you can support yourself with, or this sort of things. Yeah, so it was a lot of back and forth. I was at a really low period of my life, one of my low periods of my life, that then I also consulted with my secondary school teachers, like on the phone. I have to call back to Malaysia because they realized something's not right. So they call like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, and it was a lot of persuading and a lot of negotiating to come to the term whereby, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this professionally. Like my father say, I mean, what he thinks is, you can always have a main job and put this passion of yours on music as a sideline, as a hobby. And I just went with it. But little did I know that I've integrated two of this into.
And that's the best thing.
Yeah, it's the most unexpected thing, but it is at this point in my life, it is really the best outcome of both.
I mean, looking back, because definitely you are at all-time low, like to
yeah, like you don't know you don't know what you're gonna do in your life. You're not even sure whether you're gonna continue to stay in Singapore because you are on a visa after all, your student pass and then long-term pass. All these things, it gets stressful. Yeah, and Yangqin is just there along all this while. Yeah, so when you met me, I think when we met, I was already studying university.
You just started, I think.
Yeah,
I was in army.
Yeah, you were in army. Yeah, so yeah, you met me at that point in life. Like, okay, I just settled down, like for the best option for pleasing my parents and also still being able to stay in Singapore to do what I like to do.
When it comes to like your lessons or just school in general in SIM, how do you find SIM? Do you like because my assumption is that, like, let's say you're being okay, I won't say the word is forced, but you're being strongly recommended to take the path of university, right?
Yeah, like being pushed into it.
And some people will like have that resentment behind it, and that might translate to the kind of attitude that they have in class. So I was just wondering, what was the kind of attitude that you have generally towards your time at SIM, and how was it like? Because I have no idea how is it like being at SIM.
Well, when I started SIM, I sort of dreaded it. It was a mixture of dread and being grateful because, at least I still get to stay in Singapore. That was the one driving force that still kept me going. Because
and that's a very strong one.
I mean,
I don't know, I would think so.
I mean, still be in Singapore to play, I mean, I really surrounded my life with Chinese Orchestra a lot. Yeah.
And if you were to leave, technically you'll be leaving part of your life behind.
It's like cutting my life. Yeah, that's right. So I think what kept me going also is there are courses that I'm genuinely interested in. Marketing. Yeah, and I think what kept me going is that I met friends, like really genuine and true friends that really helped me throughout these 2 years in uni.
Help, the way you say help, like, so I'm like
supported, emotional support, and just to have a friend to spend time with, to study together and to do projects and stuff like that. Yeah, I think what kept me going for so long in Singapore is not only just Chinese Orchestra, but it's also because of the people I met here. Yeah, because I get to truly be myself. Yeah.
Wow. What do you like about marketing at SMU? Like what do you like about marketing? Specifically about marketing that drew you in?
The creativity. Like being able to create something and to market yourself. Like, marketing is such a broad
vague.
It's vague, it's broad, you can do anything about it. But then what drew me to it? I just really like the concept of marketing, the concept of creation, the concept of honing, I mean not honing, but
seeing the result of whatever effort.
I think I just enjoy the process of it. The process of creating things, the process of being creative. Yeah.
So when I met you, when was this? What year was this from? I met you when you were in SIM.
Yeah, but I didn't do marketing thing until my second year. Yeah, I think it was already after competition.
So you're
Yeah.
basically like involving yourself in a lot of competitions there. That's where I first met you.
Yeah.
And you're doing a lot of other stuff as well.
I mean, I was teaching on the side, yeah. But I think at that point in my life when we met, I was still kind of undefined. I still don't know what I was doing in my life. I was just really going through the motion, but at the same time knowing very clear that I have to do something to stay here, to still continue this hobby, this hobby of mine that my parents labeled it as.
Fast forwarding, when did like you find a job that wow, or like when did this specific transition happen? Was there a specific transition, or maybe it's just opportunities that came by that
It's
that you
opportunities
fell into?
that came by that slowly integrated it. I mean, my first job was in this place called House of Music. Yeah, I mean, they are also a startup, and they also dabble in like arts. I mean, but it's not specifically Chinese music art. It's like a combination of like different ethnic music and all these things. So during this process, I got to be more exposed to the real art scene of Singapore, because what I'm doing is like schools or community clubs, community centers, orchestra scene. Yeah, but getting into my first job, right, I was really exposed to like the processes of getting a grant from NAC or doing live shows, like the behind the scene things, the things in front, all these things. Yeah, so it's slowly integrated into my life without me consciously pursuing it. Yeah, my life is really like opportunities. My life is just really a series of luck and opportunities and yeah, just luck.
Because technically you landed up at House of Music because, would it be right to say it was that because you joined the competition that I joined with you?
Yeah, it was, everything sparked from there actually.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
I
cool.
got put in. Yeah.
But put in a good way because you
Yeah. You managed
that
to
led to what you're doing right now, Eason.
Yeah, so looking back, every single thing that happened in life really propelled me to become what I am today. Like, I mean, I joined Poly as an engineering student. I mean, if I did not choose Poly, right, and I studied something else, I might not be sitting here talking to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so it's like a series of events that led me sitting right here talking to you about Yangqin, about life, about Chinese Orchestra. What?
Actually, who texted you about Ting Yi? Okay, so for context, right,
Yeah.
Anson and I took part in this music competition, and we actually formed like a music chamber ensemble called Ting Yi. And Ting Yi is this Chinese ensemble company, so,
Local,
which
yeah,
was very
right.
kind enough
that you
to
talked to Elvia like a few.
Elvia, on another podcast, right?
Yeah.
So this company was very kind enough to like house a group of youths to take part in the national Chinese ensemble competition as well.
Yeah, NCMC. That was what it's called.
That was so crazy.
2014, like we didn't expect to get the result that we got. Yeah,
We won first prize.
be humble. Yeah. Wait, what was the question again?
And no, look, how do you get a text?
Oh yeah, when I get the text, I do not remember.
How can you not remember? It's such a pivotal moment.
I know. I mean, everything just happened so quickly. I'm not even sure. Was it Suwin who asked me, or was it, because at that point I don't know I don't know you, I don't know Regin and everyone else in the group except for maybe Suwin, or maybe like you asked a classmate of yours who play Yangqin, then he couldn't make it, then I was introduced. I really do not remember.
Okay. More from a macro perspective, right? Let's say for someone who's really interested in pursuing, I feel that the best thing is what you have done, in a sense whereby you're mixing some kind of your passion at the same time mixing what is professionally, how do I say this? Professionally acceptable by perhaps the upper generation, let's say like arts management, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I think that's the best thing that anyone could strive towards. So if there's anyone who, like, is there any kind of advice would you give to someone who is interested to find this fine line between of pursuing their passion? I know it's a bit vague and difficult in a sense, but
yeah.
I'm always thinking of someone on the other side who might be interested in this, like having the kind of difficult conversations that they want with their parents. Because I'm not sure whether it's this like social media age whereby there's a lot of like motivational thing. Oh, you should go and do your own passion, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because like, I've read some books that, let's say, you shouldn't pursue your passion. You should pursue something that you're good in. So okay, maybe on this note, right, I know I'm going over the place, right? In your experience, do you think that people should pursue their passion even if they're not good at it?
Wow,
just in a very generous sense, or maybe you could just answer from a music perspective first before just laying your 2 cents on opinion on this, because like I have seen people, or at least I do identify myself as one of those people, right, who is, let's say, very passionate about music, but when it comes to the cold hard truth, right, am I like a top tier musician, right, who can play in tune and all that kind of stuff, right? I am not that guy. I, as passionate as I may be, and the thing about music, right, age is an advantage. Like when I I met this child prodigy, Chloe, she's a violinist. I met her when I was just like 9 or 8.
When you were 9 or when
when she was
okay,
9
sorry.
then she took part in like all this kind of first prize or don't know what international violin competition, right?
Okay.
She's so damn good, right? But the thing about child prodigies, music child prodigies, is that when they reach a certain age, right, it is something that is expected of you to be good. So there should be something else that you are special and unique about, just beside your age. So that's why I think, like, just a very random note, right? I feel that child prodigies, right, they need to, just a general thought, I think they need to like find something that they are good in, aside from perhaps music, that would make them stand out, aside from just playing the music alone.
Yeah, because sorry, you.
No, I'm just
because I actually share the same sentiment as you about child prodigy. Like, the reason why they're so special is because they are child prodigy. Like, they're young, and they're doing something that people like spend lots of years to hone, and because they're young. But once they get older, right, I mean, they're just gonna be expected of it, or like they're just gonna be another adult who can play very well. That's it. Or maybe he has just carried the title child prodigy. That's it. I mean, I share the same sentiment to you about that. But yeah, for me, I really think passion alone is a big driving force. But you have to be self-aware of where your capability, or like where it ends. Okay? Then it comes to a point whereby, are you passionate enough to really push yourself over this line, over this technical difficulty? Like, if you're not good enough, do you want to spend this amount of time to get yourself good enough to be able to identify or really call yourself a top tier musician, for example? Yeah, so it's important to be self-aware, to know where your limitations are, and also be, I wouldn't say calculative, but really lay out your options. Really lay out options, think about it. If I do this, if I spend this much time, is it worth it? Is my passion worth it? Yeah, because at the end of the day, right, as realistic as it sounds, we have to really sustain our life. Yeah, and then is this passion alone enough to sustain your life? I mean, that's a very cold, hard truth that I faced when I was talking to my parents about this. Like,
should people pursue their passion even though they're
not good enough? Yeah. Straight answer, no. No, really. Because this is such a competitive world. I mean, I don't even think I'm good enough to be a proper musician. I'm just really banking on my luck and my opportunities to be able to get where I am. And I'm eternally grateful of everything that's happened to me. But at the same time, I understand my main job is not being a musician. I'm just lucky enough to be able to be in an environment that allows me to explore this hobby, this passion of mine. Yeah, so it is a very vague, and I mean, my case is very different in a sense that, because one, I'm not local, so I don't have like the obligations of family to take care of and stuff like that. So I can wholeheartedly dive into this and make this really part of my life. But then you also have to realize, what are the other things you have to take care in life? Like, do you have to settle down and get married? And whether this can really sustain your family or something. Like, there's so many things to consider. But at the end of the day, is as realistic and as heartbreaking for me in my position to say this. But you have to be realistic, especially in a country as competitive as Singapore.
It's a freaking competitive country, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so I'm just thanking my lucky stars of what I'm given. And I always remind myself that I don't deserve this, but I'm just lucky enough and have to make this work, and have to always...
I mean, for the fact that you have that kind of attitude, I think it's beneficial. Beneficial in driving you to always force yourself to improve.
Because I have to remind myself that I'm not local. I have to remind myself, you have to work harder just to make sure, just to be able to stand on the same
Playing field.
yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, but at the same time, learn to enjoy it. I mean, it's like, oh, we were talking something so somber, so serious, but at the same time, like, you have to look at the bright side of things also. It's difficult to balance these two. So it really brings you, like, it brings you down sometimes.
Okay, so maybe moving forward to just more musician talk. I think we can transit to more musician talk, right? Just on my top of mind, like what do you think is most important for a good musician to have?
I mean, apart from being able to really hone their skills in the art form, I think it's the people relationship and the attitude you have towards life and the attitude you have towards...
Attitude towards life, this is something very big. That's something that's quite big to demand of someone, is it? Or just something that
there are some musicians who are just not nice, not nice to be around with, but they're still good musicians. I mean, I met so many people and people just come and go, and I can't give you an answer on this one.
Then on the opposite spectrum, what makes a bad musician?
People who don't practice.
Oh, people don't practice. As simple as that, is it?
Yeah, it's just simple as that. If you don't practice, then why are you still being
a burden?
Not burden, like
rehearsals.
Yeah. I'm not trying to quote any famous musician like practice, but music is just practice. Oh, and also not being able to. I haven't really met bad musicians. I only met musicians with bad attitude. That's it. Yeah, that's the people I meet.
Some people say
sorry,
that,
I didn't get a good answer.
No, it's okay. Some people think that, some of my friends tell me, or at least in my perspective of personal experience of working with musicians, right? So, musicians have very big egos. What do you have to say to that?
I mean, I think that's the part of the like attitude thing that I'm talking about. I mean, personally, because I don't like to deal with people who has big egos. I mean, it's just hard to deal with. But at the same time, if you're really good at your art form, right, we still have to work with you. What I mean, we still have to listen to your music. What like so because musicians or artists, right, they just appreciate their art. They don't know the person behind the curtain. What, yeah. So at the end, I'm not sure if I'm making any sense right now.
No. It's okay.
Yeah. I can't. I also same thing on like because human is such a complex like being. Like what makes bad musicians? Like I really just like you don't practice. I mean the basic things are you don't practice. You don't play your instrument properly, or you. Yeah, this is just a few things. But at the same time, I think it's like bad human behavior that turns me off. Like saying like, I mean you play so good, also no use. You're such a shitty person. Yeah, so I mean, maybe ego is one thing, but to a wider audience, it doesn't really matter. Because if you're good at your art, people will still give you applause, because they won't personally interact with you. Yeah, that's my 2 cents on it, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's okay. When it comes to this COVID thing, right, I mean, how have you been affected? Because like hearing live music for me, right, personally, is something that I like to do. Like I think like hearing, I don't know, there's nothing more satisfying to hear live music, whether if it's like rock bands or even symphony orchestras, right, or even Chinese orchestras, right? And like, how has it affected you?
I miss performing.
When was the last time you performed?
If you count A-level exam accompaniment as a performance, then yes, it was last month.
Okay.
It was my first staged performance. Yeah, I miss it so much, but it's because of COVID. I feel that everyone has become more creative. Yeah, because everyone's cooped up at home. Then everyone's like really starting to do things online, like create videos of them playing. Or like for me, during COVID, I took the opportunity to make Yangqin videos with my overseas friends in Hong Kong and in Malaysia. Yeah, so COVID affected me in a sense like, we can't do live performances, but it also opened up more opportunities to do other things that you can't do in a pre-COVID world.
So you talk about your YouTube channel, right? I've been always asking Anson to actively publicize. What's the plan for your YouTube channel, and like where do you see it going in terms of the content that you're putting out?
Well, I mean, many years back, I occasionally make like music recordings with my friend, and I always wanted to dive into really creating Yangqin videos for YouTube, but then it's always like hindered by competitions or concertos where I have to pour a big amount of time into it to prepare. Yeah, so if you say what's my plan, I haven't really thought into it. Yeah, but I am looking into making short videos on TikToks for Yangqin. Yeah, in a sense, like not performing my art, but in a sense of really spreading to the outside world. Like, hey, there's this instrument called Yangqin. Check it out.
Why do you use TikTok?
Well, TikTok is short, it's fun, and people don't have to invest too much. I mean, people invest a lot of time on TikTok, but not. But on one video, it's like 15 seconds. You can already see so many things about it. Yeah, and TikTok, there's a lack of good
Content, really?
I mean, everyone's doing the same thing. They're just following the trend. I mean, but I really appreciate TikTok videos that you can learn things from it, or like simple hacks. Like, oh, did you know that you can do this? Or like I saw this video on how to fold your shirt on TikTok. It's like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. Then whereas everyone else on TikTok is just doing dance videos and stuff like that, just to look good. And yeah, so I really appreciate like contents that really there's an educational value in it, and I want to throw my head into it this and like do something similar but for Yangqin.
Can I share with you a secret?
Yes.
Like for myself, right, I've gotten over 500,000 video views on TikTok, right? So the reason why I'm able to hit such numbers, right, if I think it's, I'll just say publicly, is that TikTok is a TikTok staff actually reached out to me. And because they want to diversify the kind of attention that they have, they don't want the platform to just be pretty girls and handsome guys that doing push-ups or dancers, right?
Yeah.
So they are literally reaching out to all these kind of educational content creators, food creators, sports creators, right? To ask them to join a community. So literally I'm in a WhatsApp chat with like the TikTok staff. So once a month we have a training session with them.
Oh, okay.
And like for them to tell us what kind of content we should create. So that's where like hashtag like learning is fun comes into play.
I didn't know that.
So yeah, if you don't know, so I'm just telling you, it's definitely something that you should explore.
I should use that hashtag.
Yeah. So I mean, I can even introduce you to people there, but yeah, it's something that you should definitely do, man. So yeah, just a little hack.
Yeah, but I'm too careful. I always make sure the things that I put out is good enough before I don't want to simply put out like contents that doesn't
Is
help.
perfection the enemy of good?
It is. It is. I take a bit too long to put something out just because I want to make sure it looks good. The content must be like it really gives value, or else don't put at all. Yeah, so that's why my like you asked like what's my plan for YouTube is so stagnant because I haven't found something that's definitive yet. Because I mean, music channel there's plenty of people posting of them doing covers and stuff like that. I mean, maybe if I do want to get into this, I want to be something that's different. Yeah, so I'm still exploring it, but maybe after all my like competition stuff are over, then I'll really dive and take a hard look at it. And for now, it's still a question mark.
Got it. I don't know. I think that you should really put out stuff, man. Like I've been telling you for so many years.
Yes. Whenever we meet up for like meals, you tell me this also.
Got it. I think one last thing I want to talk to you about in terms of the mentality of going for competitions. So I mean, maybe for listeners out there, right? I think the process of joining music competitions, at least to me, was a very you say life-changing one, because like there's the amount of stress that you face, right? Like the competitions that I took part, and I believe Anson took part as well, is the national competition which takes part every 2 years. So it literally like occupied quite a big chunk of my market share, my brain, like that you're always like preparing for it. So at the end of every 2 years, right, you're gearing up to that moment, right? How stressful was it, and how do you handle that stress? Because I mean, okay, just to give a context, right? Like every 2 years, right, there's like you do well, and sometimes you don't do well. You don't even enter the finals, which is quite sad as well. So to me, like it was something I would say is definitely life changing in the way I saw stress. But I'm just curious from your perspective, because competitions has changed my life in a very beneficial way. But I'm just want to hear from my experience, because you are definitely a person that has dive deep into competition so much more than I have. So I just wanted to get your POV on this, because competitions are stressful, man.
It's stressful. I don't even, sometimes I'll ask myself, why do I want to put myself through this stress? But it's because I just really enjoy playing the particular piece in the competition, for example. And because I still have a goal, like I want to achieve this thing. That's why I still take part in competitions. But if you ask me, it is stressful, and I am a person that doesn't really deal well with stress. Yeah, I can crack under stress sometimes.
The opposite is it like opposite trends? You don't like it, but it's still something that you
Yeah. I think
intentionally want to go towards.
yeah, I still go for it because at this stage, right, if I still want to further improve myself, right, competition
it's
is
the
one
only way.
is one of the ways to do it because you really have a reason for you to still sit down and practice hard on like certain pieces or like maybe the piece itself because our competitions, right, the pieces are already set, so you know what you're practicing already instead of deciding what you want to play. So that itself also made me why I'm still taking part in competitions. It's because I love the piece. I mean, yeah, but if you ask me, right, I don't want to take part in competitions really because I'm stressed out by it. And if you're not working and if you're studying, right, you can put more time into it. But right now I'm juggling between work and competition. I mean, you might be surprised thinking like, oh, you actually don't want to compete. Yeah, but what made me want to compete is because, oh, this piece is interesting. Let's just go for it.
So if the piece is not interesting, then
And I was like, I'll be on the fence about it. Yeah, but usually competition pieces, right, are also pieces I never tried before. So most of the time it's because, this is on my bucket list. I want to take part just because I learned. But if you think about it, right, I can pretend I'm taking part, so I'm like learning, but then the drive won't be there. What?
yes.
Yeah, you really have to put your foot into it and like really like pay the entrance and like competition fee and it's like, oh, I really committed to this. I better make sure I do a good job on it. Yeah, so stress is a good driving force for you, but you also have to learn to manage it because I'm still, after taking parts in Singapore competition, I even went Taiwan to compete. The stress is still there and I still can't do well with it. Yeah, but always find a way to let the stress out, like always talk to a friend, a confidant that can really absorb all the stress because you lose friends because of it if you like keep on telling how stressed you are and they kind of like I lost friends because of it also.
I mean, could you share with us a particular year, a particular competition that you took part in which you felt that you were at an all-time low and perhaps maybe some lessons that you got from there?
All-time low.
Or was all competitions like fairly successful for you?
Well, I took part in like three or four competitions. Yeah, there's only one time that I didn't get into finals, but the rest is like I keep getting second place. Yeah, so not getting into finals is one kind of low, but getting into second place is another kind of low. And especially if you lose to someone you know or someone that you're close to, like you have to differentiate between competition and friendship.
Oh, that's so tricky.
Yeah, it's very tricky. That's why I mentioned like you lose friends because of it. Yeah, so different kinds of low and you have to find different kinds of way to lift yourself up to face the next competition again, for example.
Can you elaborate on the different kind of lows? Like, okay, maybe the first kind.
Okay, like not getting into finals, right? That kind of low is like you think like, am I not, like you think you're good, but I mean, that's why competitions are so vicious. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're not good. Yeah, and you still have to keep on working towards that goal that you want. So,
but those because you talk about the low of being second place to first place, where perhaps the consequences of it are more social, whereas the consequence of, let's say, you not entering finals is more of the internal battle that you're facing, right?
it's more of an internal battle because at the end of the day, right, like people will sometimes not even know or no. Sometimes people don't really care whether you got first place or second place. As long as you're good, you're good. And I mean, that's what competition is about. What? Yeah, some people will say, oh, competition doesn't really define you as whether you're a good player or a bad player. But so a lot of this low, right, is just an internal struggle and internal, like, existential kind of thing. Like, do I still want to play Yangqin or not? I did ask myself that question a few times whenever like things didn't go well. But here I am still playing. Yeah.
Could you elaborate more on the second kind of low when it comes to the kind of sacrifices you have to make in terms of relationships?
Oh, that's definitely difficult. The sacrifices you have to make. In what sense? Like losing friends because like you mix up like the competitiveness.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You need to be there?
You don't get out of it sometimes.
You don't get out of it.
Yeah, you just have to live with it. yeah, I'm still trying to get over it. But sometimes you have to look at the big picture. I mean, it's like very cruel to yourself sometimes. But if you're the type of person that's really goal driven, right? Sometimes you really have to put this aside. But or think of it this way: this pain, this trauma that you've gone through, right? You can also apply it into your music and make something out of it. Yeah, that's the one thing that I learned. Like to not always let like all these bad things get to you. Like try to really make something out of it that helps you like get through a hurdle or just really helps you express yourself even more. Because
manifest that in other ways.
yeah, because there's a saying like sometimes like comedians or like the funniest person might also be the most depressing person that you might know. Yeah, like comedians like Robin Williams, one of the Robin Williams.
Robin.
Yeah, the one that So we know him as a funny person. He has so many contents, like so many jokes. But deep down behind the scenes, right, they go through some depression, all these things. Yeah, so I think.
Yeah, I think it's important to manifest that because if you hold it in, then
it's important to not let yourself suffer on your own. But at the same time, it's a balance between dealing it with yourself internally, because at the end of the day, right, you have to face it yourself. Balance that versus having someone to talk to and someone to understand how it feels also. Yeah, it's a very delicate balance that you go through sometimes in cycles when competition didn't go well, something like that. Yeah, or you can just change your mindset. I mean, it's not like snap, you can change, right? It's really a lot of working towards like saying like, oh, second place is not bad. Yeah, at least you still get to compete. Or they will be saying like, oh, competition is not about competing with other people, it's about competing with yourself and see how much you have gone from this point to this point, how much you have improved, all this thing. Yeah, so it's at the end of the day, right? I mean, because everyone is different. For me, that's how I deal with all these setbacks and failures, is to just keep going forward and use this setback. I mean, it sounds very corny and cliche, but it's true. Use this setback to assess yourself and use this setback to push yourself forward even further.
Well, very, very nice. I feel that that's very inspiring. Okay, so ending of this podcast, maybe I can just ask you a few short fire questions.
Yes.
But before I do, is there anything you would like to share? Specifically?
Check out my TikTok.
Okay, I'll be linking Anson's TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram page, everything down in the video description, right? Quick fire questions. What's the best advice have you ever received?
Okay, yeah. So I got this advice from my father. Always be humble. Always be low profile. Like, don't flaunt your successes. Don't flaunt your wealth. Don't brag. Just stay low and keep on doing what you're doing. And just be humble. Really, that's the biggest life advice that my father given me.
What's the worst advice have you ever received?
Worst advice, There's so many, I can't think of it.
I'm sure there's a top few. It could be the top few that comes to mind. The reason why I ask this is I feel that it's important for people not to listen to perhaps these bad advices.
I can't name one, because any advice can be bad advice if it doesn't help you. Yeah, so it's like...
Or it can be taken the wrong way.
Yeah, so... Worst advice? I really can't think of it because I've been given so many things in life, right? But then you have to assess it yourself and then see whether it works for you or not. Yeah, so I can't give you I can't give you a definite answer because people give you so many things in life. But it really depends on how you take that information and how it fits into your life, because everyone's life is different. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on it.
I feel like that's another best advice. To really take advice into context to who you are.
Yeah, I mean, of course, like like just now you mentioned, the best advice is the humble thing, right? Yeah, I mean, it might not. I mean, because it's like a moral compass, like we learn in school, like being humble is good. You have to help people and be kind, all those things. I mean, this is like basic human virtue. But I think that's what I was taught when I was young. But growing up, especially growing up in a place like here, like I really think the most important thing is whatever you've heard, whatever advice you're given, right? assess it, and then see whether it really help you or whether it can really fit you and bring you to a goal or a success.
Yeah, I think it's important. I feel like a lot of people take advice very blindly. So 1 year from now, what tangible events would need to happen to you to make it the best year for your life so far?
Get a PR
Get a PR.
in Singapore. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Anson, thanks so much for joining this podcast, right?
Yes, thank
if
you
there are
for
listeners
having
that
me.
wants to reach out to you, where can they find you? And where are you most active on?
Eason, you can find me through Eason Music.
Oh yeah, actually, I should link all Eason's video things.
Yeah.
below.
If you want to get to know me better, or like just to get to know Yangqin better, you can either approach me on my Instagram account, Facebook account, or just talk to us on Eason Music.
Okay, got it. Anson, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
We have been planning for this for quite a while, and I think we might.
I'm so glad this finally happened.
Yeah, I feel like just inviting some of my old
From
musician friends
the ensemble. Yeah, I definitely love it.
And just to talk out, and just.
Yeah, just to like reminiscence or like share some
I feel like there
memories.
can be a reaction video to the kind of concerts. and
Oh
competitions
yeah,
that we did, right?
yeah. Richie would definitely love doing that.
Yeah, I know. I think he'll be crazy to do that, but
Yeah.
okay, got it. Thanks.
Thank you.